guys, welcome to the channel. It's John. I'm the CEO and founder of MoverXpro 360. In today's video, we're going to talk about what insurances you need to start an HHC carrier, in other words, a household good carrier. And additionally, we're going to talk about what insurances you should have, even though you're not required to have them. Now, keep in mind, I am not an attorney. I am not a licensed insurance agent. I'm strictly speaking from a high level of experience in the moving industry. Not only was I able to run multiple successful moving companies time and time again, I was also able to find success in the freight and auto transport industry. All of these can work closely together to make a really nice, lucrative business. The process I have created and I strictly follow work. No matter what size of your moving company, small, big, large, our process is scalable, and it's incredibly important that your process is scalable as well if you're trying to grow your company. I will get more into detail in other videos and how all three subs industry integrate and complement each other and the different type of processes that you should follow to run and operate your business. If this page does well, so make sure you like, subscribe, and keep following the channel. We plan to constantly release a lot of different content to help companies get to the next level no matter what stage you're in. If that's just starting out and you're looking to build a business plan, or if you've been in the business for over a decade and you're just trying to increase your cash flow. So let's jump right on in. We're going to start with the insurances you absolutely must have to start your moving company. The first one is commercial general liability. The second, cargo. And the third, automobile liability. Let's talk about commercial general liability. There is no minimum requirement from the DOT for your commercial general liability. However, I wouldn't recommend going below $1 million, as that typically is the most common requirement to go into commercial and residential buildings. So if you don't have $1 million in coverage, they're not going to let you perform a move inside of their building. Also, $1 million doesn't cost a lot usually in your premium, so it's definitely worth the spend. Now, I personally recommend going to at least $2 million, as there's going to be a second wave of buildings and commercial properties that you might need this for. And so that's usually why I would like to go with $2 million, plus you have that additional extra coverage if something happens. Now, keep in mind, cities like Miami, cities like New York have some buildings that might require up to $5 million in liability insurance, so you definitely should do the research in your area to find out what type of insurances, general liability insurance, you're going to need to be able to go into the buildings around you. Now, higher insurance a lot of times will make your customers feel more comfortable, so this could also help with sales on your team. They can point out that other companies don't have this much insurance if something happens. Additionally, you can receive more jobs from brokers by having this higher level of insurance, and you can also use this to your leverage by saying, hey, look, I can perform this job. How about you give me 2 or 3 other jobs, and I'll take that one job you can't move that you need that person with the $5 million going downtown Manhattan, and I'll be able to do this job for you. And that's kind of how you can leverage the job, the higher insurance to get more jobs. Also, you can even charge a little bit more money to some of these carriers because you do have the higher insurance. And then you can also sell your jobs a little bit higher as a company because you have the higher insurance. Now, a lot of companies think price is everything, but that's not the case. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in other videos on how to bring your prices up and perform jobs at higher prices and still get more customers than the average company. And if you're going to have a warehouse, it is very, very important that you make sure you get a rider for your insurance. Most general liability coverages won't cover your warehouse. Definitely check the fine print to see if they're going to cover your warehouse. If not, request a rider. Make sure your warehouse is covered in case something happens. It's always important to have your insurance covering you in every avenue as possible. And like I said, it's important to read that fine print. So make sure you speak to your insurance agent. Anything you request, do it in writing. Speak to them. Find out exactly what they're covering, because every type of coverage is a little bit different. So let's talk about what does commercial general liability typically cover. This insurance can help you cover your medical expenses, your legal fees, and potential settlements or judgments if someone sustains bodily injury or harm due to your business operations. For example, if a customer trips over one of your dollies and gets hurt, or they step on a tool and something happens, your CGL insurance may cover the medical expenses and the resulting claim. And this is really important. It also can cover things like property damage. If your business operates and causes some damage to someone's floors, let's say they drag a piece of furniture and that furniture tears up their hardwood floors, your CGL insurance can provide coverage to help pay the cost of these repairs, any kind of home damage and expenses. Now, personally, if the damages are really small, like let's say they chip a wall or a little damage to the door, I usually won't want to hit that on my insurance, I would try to settle that outside of a claim, send a handyman out there, pay them $400 or $500, rectify the situation outside of insurance instead of making your premium go up because you start making claims over silly things. It doesn't make sense to make a claim if it's going to cost more in insurance in the end than you could have just paid out. So make sure you think about what you're doing and how you're going to pay out every kind of damage, because if you're running a moving company, you're going to have some damages. Mistakes are going to happen. So it's really important you think about this every time it does happen. Let's talk about some of the things CGL does not cover. Claims arising from professional errors, omissions, or negligence, auto accidents. This is the reason you're going to have your auto liability, employee injuries, and intentional acts. If someone does something on purpose, contractual liabilities, pollution and environmental damage, employee dishonesty or theft, and labor laws. Let's say someone makes a claim against your business that you didn't pay them. This insurance isn't going to cover it. This is something that we're going to talk a little bit more about later in the video. Just remember, each plan can slightly vary. They do cover this, they cover that, they don't cover this. So make sure, once again, you check with your insurance agent and you ask them for a detailed report of everything that's going to be covered, and you read it through. And if there's something that you see is not covered that you want covered, speak to them about figuring out how to get it covered. Now, let's jump over to cargo insurance. Cargo insurance provides coverage for loss damage to the goods that are being transported during transit. It protects the owner of the cargo, usually the shipper or the consignee, that's your customer, from financial losses due to various risks that can occur during the transit. Now, keep in mind, very key word there, the transit. Cargo insurance covers the items from point A to point B, and that is it. And it only covers a certain amount. So if you get the minimum HHC requirement, which is only $5,000 in cargo insurance, that's all you're going to have for coverage. I personally think that is way too low. I would recommend getting $100,000 cargo insurance. This will also make you have the correct amount if you want to get into the freight industry, because that's what you're going to need to take freight loads, a minimum of $100,000. Plus, if something does happen, it's not if something, it's going to be when, because something will happen if you're running your company and you're growing your company. The more employees you have, the higher risk you're going to have, and the more you're going to need to think about that coverage. Accidents can happen, and they can happen to the best of the people. You could be the best driver in the world and an accident still can happen. So make sure you have the coverage so you're not paying things out of pocket. If you do not have experience in handling claims, I recommend working with a moving claims company. I'm going to cite one that I've worked with in the description down below, so check it out if you don't have one. But definitely make sure you have a moving claims company, unless you're a larger company that I can afford to pay someone that has experience working this full-time handling the claims. Because if you do your claim process wrong, you can find yourself paying out more money and or having problems with the DOT, and you don't want to have any of those problems. Also, it's important for me to mention that you must offer a minimum of 60 cents per pound per article of insurance to every one of the customers you pick up. It's a requirement by the DOT, so make sure you offer that. And you also have to offer a full value protection plan that you can sell at whatever going rate that you want to sell it at. That being said, that minimum 60 cents per pound per article, if you put it to a full trailer and there is a major accident and you only had $5,000 in cargo insurance at a 4,000 cubic foot trailer or 4,200 cubic foot trailer at a 1 to 7 pound ratio, you see, your cargo insurance wouldn't cover that, so you'd definitely be paying out of pocket. Now, most claims, I wouldn't recommend claiming against your cargo. It's not a good idea. You're going to bring your premiums way up. So keep your premiums down, pay the customers back whatever you have to claim. Try to make sure your guys perform the job right. Teach your workers to wrap and protect the materials on the job. Make sure they do the job right, and you'll have way less damage. Also, if you're working with companies that do shipping for you and you're just doing the pickups, choose good companies for those delivery. Hold them accountable if they cause damage. Protect your customer, and that's how you're going to make a really good company. Next, we're going to talk about automobile liability. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the FMCSA, set a minimum insurance requirement for motor carriers to get involved with interstate commerce. These requirements can vary based off factors such as vehicle growth, vehicle weight rating, the GVWR, the number of passengers it can carry, or the type of cargo that is being transported. In this video, we're talking about HHC, so it's the type of cargo that is being transported. In the US, the FMCSA minimum that you must have as of 2023 is to get your safety rating is 750,000 bodily injury and property damage liability. That's for your HHC carriers to get involved in interstate transportation, while hazardous materials carriers are required to have at least $5 million in coverage, okay? Very few people watching this video are looking for hazardous, but those that are, it's a $5 million minimum. Now, you're gonna need to think about your risk assessment and make sure that you're getting the right kind of insurance based off of your company, the way you operate. Make sure you're protecting yourself. Once again, as I always say, more insurance will not hurt you. I've always ran my business on higher amounts of insurance. Very rarely did I ever deal with the minimums, except for when I first got in, when I had a very little bit of experience, and I actually end up paying the price for doing so. Now, personal injury protection, the PIP, do not go with the low coverage. A lot of companies operate with only 10,000, and that's just simply not enough. It's not about if an accident is going to happen. The real question is, when will an accident happen? You're going to have to make sure you're prepping everything you do about the whens and not the ifs. Don't run a business off the ifs, run a business off the whens, and you're going to find yourself on the right side of things when things go down. Now let's talk about what I recommend you get for your company. Workman's compensation, umbrella insurance, and professional liability insurance, also known as errors and omission insurance. Let's start with the most important, workman's compensation. Find a payroll company to work with. I will cite some in the description to make your life a little bit easier, but it's very important you work with a payroll company. Absolutely avoid paying your guys on 1099s. Do it the right way, get workman's comp. A lot of buildings will require you to have this to even work inside them, so you definitely get more jobs from it. Now, there is a workaround where it's called workman's comp, exemption, but that's not the right way to do it. Don't find yourself doing exemption, okay? Completely avoid that. I hear it all the time. I don't need this. I have a perfect system. I won't get sued. I'm protected. They are contractors. Then a guy gets hurt and you have $1 million+ lawsuit on your hands, and there's no way to protect yourself because you had no insurance for it. And a worker's injury, that one can come after you personally. You cannot just close your company. There is no way to hide from this. This type of lawsuit can bury you. It can come after all of your personal assets. So make sure you're protected, because you don't want to lose your home because you thought you knew better than the law, because that's not how it works. They are employees. And also, while we're speaking about employees that are in the field that can get hurt, your office employees are definitely employees. So you can't 1099 them either, and your sales guys as well. If you're making them come there and work in the office every day, these people need to be on payroll, and it's important that you understand this. Office employees are not contractors. They need to be employees. Do not allow this to blow up in your face because some company that you spoke to that gave you bad advice saying they can be contractors. You can run contracts with them. You can pay them as business. If you're the only person paying them and you're requiring them to work in office, they are employees, and the law only sees it as them as employees, and they will get you. And if they make any kind of wage law against you, you're not going to be protected because you don't have a payroll company that's having you work the process the right way. See, if you're working with a payroll company and someone says, hey, I didn't get a check from them, it's really difficult for them to turn around and sue you. But if these guys are 1099 and they working in office and only for your business every day, there are attorneys out there that are circling the waters like hyenas that are going to find you, and they're going to get a suit against you. And those suits can get super expensive really quick. I've seen them get up to $200,000-$300,000 within a few months, and you're going to end up settling because you don't want it to go to court because you're going to lose. So once again, do not 1099 employees. Get them on workman's comp, work with a payroll company, don't do things the hard way. Now, if you're worried about getting lawsuits and you're looking for another avenue from having risk of employees because this scares you or you can't afford the workman's comp, there are a lot of good call centers out there. I know a few. I will definitely cite some in the link as well that have experience with working with moving companies. You can outsource a lot of your work, such as basic customer service, even sales. There's a lot of them out there. Not all of them are good, so you got to be careful who you work with. Now, But if you're going to work with an outsourced call center, you have to have your company organized, because now you're working with people outside of your roof, and you have to have a system that allows you to trust the platform and everything that's happening, so you don't just work with some Joe Smo that doesn't know what he's doing, or he's a stealer or a thief and he's working for 10 companies and they're trading leads. So make sure you have a good platform, a good way to keep track of your data, and you're working with credible companies that have a good reputation. And keep in mind, while I'm talking about having a good process, it doesn't matter if they're outside our office or inside our office. You just need to have a really good process in your company. That's exactly why we built MoverXpro. It's why it's a thing, is because there was no CRM that really worked, that gave you the proper process. But our system, MoverXpro, definitely helps you there. Check it out if you haven't. If you are on it, well, good for you. You're definitely seeing where the benefits are. Now, I'm going to briefly touch on umbrella insurance. This helps pick some of the areas that aren't covered by all the other insurances you have. So anything that you're looking for that's miscellaneous, this is a good place to put it. Ask your insurance provider about getting an umbrella insurance. You're running a moving business. There's a lot of people involved, a lot of moving parts, and it's an industry that deals with a lot of lawsuits. Yes, you can make a lot of money in it, but you can also lose a lot of money if you're not careful. So this is where your umbrella insurance can fill in a lot of the gaps. I don't know exactly how you're operating your day-to-day needs, and I don't know exactly what insurance is that you have and what parts they're covering, because everything's a little bit different. But once again, the umbrella insurance is where you're going to go to find that additional insurance that you're missing. Also, like I said, professional liability insurance, which is also known as the errors and omission insurance. As you grow your company, it is important that you start looking at other ways to protect yourself. One bad lawsuit can put you out of business. This insurance will help you when you have a lot of workers managing sections of your business, making decisions without you involved, and those decisions are bad decisions, and then boom, something happens. This is going to be the insurance that you're going to need. It can really cover a lot of that rollover, just like the umbrella, but in a different way. It's not umbrella insurance, but it's going to help with these type of errors that happen from your employees. So if you're not running your business and you have people running your business, you're protected out there. And this is more for companies that are growing, that are on a larger scale. Smaller companies don't really need this as much. So I would say it's one of the last things I would personally recommend. Doesn't mean it's not good to have. Now, I don't want to overtalk, so let's jump into the conclusion of this video. It is very important to make sure that you do it the right way from day one. Do not get bad habits from other companies that are doing unethical tactics, trying to cheat the system. When it comes to the legal side, you cannot cheat the system. Every time someone tries, they end up paying the price. Do not be that guy. Additionally, you cannot and will not scale a business doing it the wrong way. Building a business without the proper protocols and getting the right insurance is a ticking time bomb, and you do not want to be there when that time bomb goes off. I've seen it a dozen times, companies saying, I know what I'm doing, I got this, and then boom, it all backfires. They're closing their company, they're losing some personal assets, they just lost everything, and they're starting from zero because they did not properly prepare their business. Yes, there's a few companies out there that might be scooting under the radar, cutting corners, but the one thing you'll notice about a lot of those guys is they just aren't scaling. Or they're having a lot of fires they're putting out day to day, and they're just moving money from here to here to here, and they're just a mess of a business. So make sure you organize your business properly, and starting with the insurance is the best way to start your business, because you're also protecting yourself. So if you guys liked this video, make sure you like, you share it, make sure you follow the channel, and I'll be releasing a lot of new content for you guys, a lot of educational videos, things to help you take your business and scale it to the next level. Thanks guys, have a great day.